Awesome. Looks like we are live. Some folks trickling in down there at the bottom. Might as well give it a few minutes to let some folks pile in here. Paul, what do you got coming up for hunts or application season? Obviously, wouldn't disclose what units you're applying for, but what states what are you excited for this year? What do you hope to draw?
Yeah, looking to do a wilderness Colorado hunt for elk, get back way into the middle of nowhere somewhere. Um, I'd like to put in the fall for some javelina down in Arizona, New Mexico, maybe a spring bear hunt in Montana. Obviously, turkey's coming. I got tags in my pocket, so I'm pretty excited about that. Uh, I'd like to do a high country mule deer hunt somewhere, maybe if I have time. How about you, Dylan?
Yeah, that's it's that time of year. It's exciting. Um, Feels like Christmas every single time that I check draw odds or see if they posted them. Which actually just today I checked to see if the Western Hunt Expo posted their tags. They are not available yet. If you guys were there, check this weekend. Yeah, spring, I'm excited to get after bear hunting a little bit more. Last year I didn't get out too much, having our second kid in the spring. And then coming this fall, I think if everything goes to plan, I'll be going to Alaska for an archery caribou hunt and then kind of see how the draws shake out. But with that big trip planned, probably a lot of in-state Montana stuff. And then if I draw an out-of-state hunt, it'll be a good one. So the point list is increasing and getting more points in Wyoming, Colorado. So it's about time to plan another one of those hunts. So
Yeah, I've got like 9 or 10 points for antelope in Colorado too, so might be time to burn those and go on a hunt. I'm also in that sweet spot for sheep, goat, and moose in Colorado. So I don't want to plan too much every year because I kind of have my fingers crossed that one of those will eventually get pulled. I know it's high hopes, but every year people between 10 and 14 points get a lot of those tags. So, and I'm kind of in that spot right now with 10 or 11 points for all those. So we'll see.
nice.
Don't have my hopes up too high, but it'd be awesome. So
Yep. Good stuff. Well, what do you say we kick this thing off?
yeah, great. Yeah, let's kick it off. All right. Well,
Cool.
everybody that's here, welcome to the webinar. Thanks for joining. We are looking at our new tool here at onX called Hunt Research Tools. This tool just launched at the end of January. It's our new draw odds and application season tool that is part of the onX Elite membership. If you're not elite, we'll have some opportunities for you guys to upgrade and some deals in this masterclass, but you do have to be elite to use this tool. So we're going to go through that tool and show you what it's all about, and stick around to the end as well. We're going to do a giveaway for a lifetime onX Elite membership. So you'll be set up and never have to pay for your membership again. So that's a pretty awesome benefit.
Yeah, one other reminder, we are going to do a Q&A at the end. Make sure that you guys are using the actual Q&A function at the bottom for asking those specific questions. Use the chat, let us know where you guys are tuning in from, chat amongst yourselves. But if you want a question answered at the end, go ahead and drop it in that actual Q&A.
Awesome. All right. So the two presenters here, obviously, it's me, myself, and Dylan. So I'm Paul. I'm with onX. I am in charge of this tool, actually. So I manage the Hunt Research tool and all of our application season tools here at onX. Dylan?
Yep. So yeah, I've been with onX a little over 8 years. I've done everything from customer service to today I manage some of the Western big game marketing. Work a lot with our ambassadors and have talked to a lot of customers in the past over the phone and through email. So yeah, cool to be here and to get to talk about this new exciting tool. I know I've been in it quite a bit, being as we're kind of in the heart of application season right now.
Yeah, and if any of you guys were at Western Hunt in Salt Lake City last week and you stopped by the Hunt and Fool booth or the onX booth, you may have ran into Dylan and myself. We were there, so maybe you talked to us. But let's dive into this masterclass and get you guys all set up with Hunt Research Tools. So the first thing we want to call out is this not podcast. This masterclass is not the place where we're going to be answering specific questions about what unit to apply for or how to use 7 points in Wyoming for elk in the best way. It's not about creating a detailed application strategy. This masterclass really is about learning how to use the hunt research tool. If you're interested in more specific questions, it's best if you come to one of the podcasts. Sorry, I keep saying that. One of the master classes with Hunt and Fool, our partners Hunt and Fool, or reaching out to Hunt and Fool individually. They really are the experts in helping answer those specific types of questions. So I just want to put that out there. What we are
Yeah,
going to cover, yeah, go ahead, Dylan.
one thing to chime in though is uh totally agree with Paul. The one cool thing about this tool, once we dive in, I think it'll make more sense, but it really is the first kind of step in the do-it-yourself portion of where should I apply this year? I want to apply for Colorado. I've never done it. What do I expect? Where do I have a chance at drawing? So think of this tool as a do-it-yourself version. And then if you have a more pointed question like, hey, I've got 8 points in Colorado for mule deer I want to hunt third season. That's the type of question that would be better suited for the folks at Hunt and Fools, which we're really good partners with. So we'll dive through a bunch of upcoming master classes where we'll get a lot more detailed on specific species and look at those states. But yeah, we'll hopefully give you a lot better understanding about how to use this tool and learn how to derive at a unit for yourself.
Yeah, and on that point, I saw a question pop up about what's our relationship between Hunt and Fool and onX. If you're an onX Elite member, you get a free digital subscription to Hunt and Fool, which includes all their monthly magazines that cover a bunch of information, all the states that have their draw odds, their unit analysis, and then you obviously has the option to upgrade and do consultations with Hunt and Fool as well. So they're one of our great partners, and I would definitely utilize them. Those guys are really basically geniuses when it comes to applying and developing an application strategy. This podcast, or again, I should keep saying that this masterclass again, though, is looking at how to start planning and developing your application strategy. Like Dylan said, it's the DIY portion. We're gonna walk through why understanding draw odds is crucial to an application strategy, and how to use hunt research tools to determine your draw odds. We'll also go over a couple of the other onX application resources that you have at your fingertips as an elite member. And at the end, we'll answer a couple of questions. And then again, make sure you stay to the very end. At the very end is when we're going to give the link out to put in for that lifetime elite membership. So here's a list of our upcoming master classes. Like we talked about next week on the 27th, we've got one with Hunt and Fool about hunting mule deer in the West. So they're going to go over all the specifics. That's a great place to ask those very specific questions on, how many points you got, what state's the best for non-residents, where should you be putting in. And then we got a couple other, we're going to do a deep dive into using waypoints and how to really get the most out of waypoints. Then Hunt and Fool comes back in early March to talk about antelope and hunting antelope out west. And then we've got Hunt 101, which is a mastering the app. So those are the next few that are on the docket for the next month. And we post new ones of these on our website. You see the link there in red, onxmaps.com/hunt/masterclasses. And you can register for any of these that we put on the schedule. So what we're seeing here, guys, is the reason why it's important to understand draw odds. This is a study we did last year that shows the blended total applicants per year in the West for elk. This is specifically looking at elk in the Western states. And you can see there in that first chart how many more applicants there were in 2021 than there had been in the past. And that second bar chart is showing the total limited entry bull tags by year. So you can see those limited entry bull tags have been dropping. So ultimately what we're seeing here is more people applying for less tags. So this means that it's really crucial that you understand draw odds. Throughout the West, it's getting harder and harder to get tags. States like Colorado this year are even taking away some of the OTC opportunities. So opportunities that have been there in the past may not be there in the future. So it really takes a strategy to be able to hunt every year nowadays. It's not the good old days where you can go to the local gas station and get an over-the-counter tag. A lot of states have taken away over-the-counter tags for most species. And so this is really important that you guys understand draw odds, you understand a strategy when you're putting in during application season, and you have the best possible chance of being able to hunt every year. And we're going to go over a few tips in these next few slides on ways that you can ensure that you can potentially get tags every year. But it all starts with doing a little planning and not just putting in for the same old unit that you've been putting in for the last 20 years. Anything to add there, Dylan?
No, I think you covered it. We'll dive in on the next slide with a little bit more in depth. So, Yeah, developing your app strategy is different for everybody. My application strategy is different from Paul's, is different from the next guy's, and it's mine is constantly evolving. I I have the strategy. I have, here's kind of what my next 3, 4, 5 years potentially look like, and then I just had a second kid last year. That throws a wrench in things. I know I'm not gonna be doing a bunch of spring hunting. I still got out quite a bit last fall and got to do one out-of-state hunt. And for me personally, where I'm at in my current life setup is I try to do at least one out-of-state hunt a year in order to accomplish that. So some years I do two. Actually, I just got back from Texas on a aoudad hunt. So technically I kind of did two, or I've done one this year already. Um, so if they're spread out, I know I can get away with a little bit more. But for me, in order to do that, I am applying for some specific tags and shooting for the moon and trying to draw some of those harder tags to where if I do draw, it is completely worthwhile for me to split my time from some Montana tags and go spend time on that, Colorado tag or whatever tag that is kind of a higher level tag. Um, and if I don't draw, like last year, for example, I put in for a couple different states, didn't draw, and so I actually went and did an over-the-counter Oregon Columbian blacktail hunt. So that's over the counter, pay for the tag, go hunt. Like it was an amazing hunt. So there are some cool over the counter opportunities if you aren't successful in your draw strategy to where you can still go hunt a new state, new species. For me, that was the first time actually hunting Oregon, first time hunting Columbian blacktail, and it was a blast. I had just as much fun on that hunt as if I would have on some of the ones that I was trying to apply for. So, again, your strategy is going to be different for you. It's constantly evolving. But one thing that I would say is build points. If you're not sure, make sure that you get those Wyoming points, make sure you're doing Colorado points, etc. So get some points to where 3, 4, 5 years down the road, if you want to go explore Colorado and go do a mule deer hunt, you are setting yourself up for the opportunity to do so. So when I first started personally accumulating points like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I didn't really know what my strategy was, but I knew I wanted to do that eventually. Last year, went to Colorado, had one of the best mule deer hunts I've ever had on like a 2 point unit. So yeah, have those points to where you have the opportunity to go. As you can see here on the slide, there's a lot to it, so make sure that you're staying organized with the deadlines, your feeds, etc. A lot of folks throw those in spreadsheets. I personally use a tool that Huntful has called Hunt Planner for those at the moment. It's pretty helpful tool to just keep track of all that good stuff. Over the counter versus draw, obviously we touched on that a little bit. Last year again, I tried to draw several different states and species, didn't work, so I went the over-the-counter route. Some of those still exist and they're good hunts. I would say take advantage of those while they still exist because sooner or later there's just less and less of those. We can look at Colorado over the counter, which I know you have personal experience with, Paul, being a resident there. There's some still really cool over-the-counter opportunities in Colorado, but if those go away, they're probably not coming back. So take advantage of them while they're there. And then the applying in multiple states is, for me, is more so building points in multiple states. Again, just kind of bringing that full circle. Anything else to add to that one, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one of the big things is a lot of people, especially in Colorado or coming out west, want to do an elk hunt. And Colorado still has over the counter. I think it's the last state in the West that has an over the counter tag for residents and non-residents. And what I would say is there's a lot of draw units in Colorado and other states that take 0 or 1 point. So it's not much more work to get those tags. And the opportunity can be a lot higher quality. You don't have all the OTC hunters and the general public out in the woods with you. So there's something to think about there. That's a strategy. You might not just go for an OTC tag anymore. It might be worth putting in for a draw unit that takes 0 points. It's still the same odds of getting it, but there's fewer tags in those units and less people. The multiple states thing too. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not applying to multiple states, you may find yourself in the near future not being able to hunt every year in your home state. So I think it's
Y-
important that you spread the wealth out a little bit and try to put in for multiple states so that if you don't get a tag in your home state, you still got chances in those neighboring states. And then the big
y-
one is the same old unit. I'm 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 guilty of this myself. I hunted the same old unit for almost 18 years in Colorado for elk, and access changes, the quota changes, hunting pressure changes. Last year, 2 years ago, we got really bad winter kill in Colorado, so I had to change units. There was about 95% winter kill in the unit I was hunting, and it was a great unit until then. And now those tags were over the counter, and they're gone now too. So a lot of things can change, and so you just need a strategy because it's not always going to be the same thing that you can hunt year after year.
Yeah, and the other thing that I will bring up is it really starts with a budget. How much money can you spend? Are you willing to spend every year in applications? I mean, I know some guys that spend a lot of money and apply for every state, every species, and they seem to pull a lot of tags. When you apply for one state, let's just say moose, sheep, and goat. I mean, you do one state, that's one opportunity. If you apply for every state you can, like you're just doubling those odds and doubling them again. So it really comes down to, how much money do you want to spend on those? Some states are different than others, obviously. You guys are probably aware, but New Mexico, which is right around the corner coming up, you front that money. So you might be looking at a credit card with a balance of $2,500 sitting on it until they draw those tags. At which point, if you're not successful, they put the money back on your card. Some states are, every state's different, and that's where really with the Hunt and Fool uh webinars we dive into more of what does each state cost, et cetera, et cetera. But as you're looking at your strategy, we definitely have to bring up the fact of what are you willing to spend because that does go into it.
Yeah, for sure. There's other things that you have to know too as you start looking into building a strategy. I mean, different states have different point systems. So some states have preference point systems. Some points use bonus points. States like Colorado for moose, goat, and sheep use a weighted bonus point or weighted preference point. It's really ran like a bonus point system though. So those are really confusing if you're a multi-state hunter. Figuring out all the state regulations is really crucial. You'll see in the hunt research tool that for states that have preference points, there'll be a preference point break even level, and that's really crucial to understand as well. On those levels, we'll show you in the tool, but basically, if it takes 5 points to draw in a certain unit, 0 through 4 points have almost no chance, zero chance of getting that tag. At that 5 point level, there's usually a break even point where maybe 30 or 70 or 80%, whatever it might be, at 5 points, you might get that tag. And then 6 points and above, you have a 99.9% chance of getting that tag or almost guaranteed. So understanding how preference point works versus bonus points is really crucial. And understanding that the differences between general tags like in Montana versus limited units versus OTC units and what they do for your points and when your points might get burned based on what order you're putting in for in your application. Like in Colorado, your points only get used if you draw a tag as your first choice. Your second, third, and fourth choices don't use points. So there's strategy there around how to use your points. And then resident and non-resident. I mean, these are big to know. Some states only allocate 10% of tags to non-residents. States like Colorado used to allocate 35% to non-residents. They just changed that this year. Now it's down to 25% for non-residents. So those opportunities are changing and shifting for residents versus non-residents. So that's super crucial to know. And then lastly, when you're looking at these draw odds tools, you're always looking at last year's data. So the draw odds that are currently in HRT or let's say in Top Rut or any other draw odds tool are always from the previous year. None of these draw odd tools are predictive, telling you what your odds are going to be in the 2024 draws. What they do is they take the data from last year's actual draws from the states, and then they simulate that thousands of times to make sure that they completely understand how the states actually ran those draws. And then it shows you basically what happened last year. And you can assume with some changes what might be the case for this year. Now, obviously, there's big changes that can change that. Tag quotas can go up and down, so you got to track that. Like we were just talking about, Colorado reducing from 35% non-resident to 25% non-resident is going to change the draw odds. So you do have to add some of those factors in that are real time into the data that you're looking at, which is always a year in the past.
Yeah, yeah, and I would just say do your research. it's very complex with every state and it's constantly changing. For me personally, it seems like about the time that I've got it figured out in a particular state, they change it completely backwards. So you always got to be on your toes and use this tool like Hunt Research Tool, which we're going to dive into here in a second, in conjunction with the current regulations for that particular state. Make sure you're constantly checking those regulations and looking at that. Tag quotas, what are they allocating this year? What changes? Is there a new unit? If it's a brand new net new unit, that's not going to necessarily show in a tool like this that is showing last year's odds. So if you know some of those little nuggets and apply for that new unit, a lot of other folks might not know or might have looked over that new unit. So might give you, you know, better and better odds applying for something like that.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that before we move on. It's crucial that you guys are always checking your regs. You're not using these tools as the only source of truth. You're double checking with regs. You're looking at hunt codes and making sure you're applying to the right units. You're understanding tag quotas. You're understanding changes the states are making. So that's very crucial to always have that regs book next to you or that PDF open on another screen. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to dive in and we're going to do a demo, probably about 15-minute demo on how to use this tool, what all the information means, and then we'll come out and we'll actually do a couple real life examples of how to look up, say, a tag that you might want to get for Montana elk or Colorado mule deer. So I'm going to switch tabs real quick into Hunt Research Tools. Now, there's a few ways to get the Hunt Research Tools. If you're in Web Map on onX, you'll see that there's this Hunt Research Tools button here on the side that looks like a bar chart. You can also go into this Elite Pro Deals tab and you'll open it and you'll see Hunt Research Tools at the top. There's also a tile for it. Or you can open up Elite Tools and you'll see Hunt Research Tools here. So that's one way to get to it from WebMap. Another way is on our website. If you're on onX Maps, you'll find it under the Elite Membership tab. So you can go to Research Tools, and this will talk all about Hunt Research Tools, and you can log in here. There's a couple big red buttons that'll take you to the tool. There's some videos on how the tool works. We've got a bunch of videos too on our YouTube page. You can also find this in application season, which talks about Hunt and Fool and Hunt Reminder, as well as Hunt Research Tools. But to start, I'm just going to go to Hunt Research Tools in an incognito tab so that I can show you what it's like if you log in for the first time. Okay, so you log in using your onX login membership, and then it'll have this prompt to update your user profile. This is really important, and we suggest that you don't click the do it later. You only see this the first time you log in. I'll show you how to get back to the profile if you do hit do it later, but ultimately you want to go set up your profile first. In your profile, you're going to set up your residency and your points. And those are super crucial because all the draw odds you're going to see in this tool are personalized to your profile. So if you don't set this up, all the draw odds are going to default to 0 points and non-resident status. So if I go into the profile, you'll see here a couple things. I can see my account, I can see my personal information, and then I can see this residency tab. So I want to go down here and I'm going to click Colorado and then I'm going to hit save. Now Colorado's in here. Some people have multiple residencies. You can get these, let's say you can get a lifetime hunting residency in New Mexico, I believe. So if you have multiple residencies, this does allow you to add 2 residencies so that you'll get those draw odds for both states. The next thing you're going to want to do is add your points. So you can either add your points over here on the left, or you can click the add my points button. And this is going to take you to the current states that we have points for. And so I'm in Colorado. So let's add my elk points. I can add my elk points, and then I can add as many as I might have. Moose, same thing. So let's add some moose points. Maybe I'll add my Wyoming points for mule deer, and I'll go in. And so now I've got my points set, and you can go back to your profile and you can see my points are actually set here. So what I'm going to do now is hit back to draw odds, and this is going to take me to the home screen. This is the screen you're going to find now every time you log in. It's not going to have that pop up asking you to go to your profile. Now, for some reason, you need to go back in and change your profile. You can click on the profile icon up here in the right-hand corner, and you can go to my profile or my points, and this will take you right back to those
Hey,
sections to be able to update them.
hey, Paul, real quick,
Yeah.
since you're on that screen, somebody asked in the chat about which states have points versus bonus points. So if you're ever curious, this is one way to find out. So if you go to my points, if you go ahead to add any of these, it'll tell you exactly what state has what. So Colorado preference, Wyoming preference, Montana's bonus, Utah bonus. You can look through these and it'll give you a starting point.
Yeah, and Colorado right now is the only one where we have two different point types. The rest of these are one point type. In Colorado, obviously, you've got weighted preference points for sheep, moose, and goat. So when you click that, it's going to auto select weighted preference points. It's only going to let you put in weighted preference points. If you click antelope, it's going to auto select preference points. So you can add
Yeah, and there is always more to it a little bit. So like Wyoming, for example, it's a preference point state, but there are some tags that are allocated for a random draw. So even though it's a preference point states, if there's enough tags for said unit or region, if you go to apply, even if you don't meet the requirements to hit that preference point threshold, if there's enough tags allocated again, you will be kind of put into a different drawing after the preference points are done. And there are some bonus opportunities where it's not really a bonus, but it's a random draw. And that's to incentivize you to still apply instead of just build those points constantly. So, we do say preference for Wyoming. There is more to it. And that's where a little bit of research will go a long way.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's 25% of those tags in Wyoming are allocated to a random draw. So you always have a chance in Wyoming, even if you don't think you have enough preference points. So now back to the tool. Again, you'll have this prompt here that says select state and species. Right now, you have to select one state and one species to be able to get any search results. And so there's a couple ways you can do this. You can either start your search, which will open these filters at the top. Or if you need a little more help, there is this guide. You can start the guide, and it's the same filters, but it has a few tips in here. So it'll tell you why you might be picking something. So let's say I'm picking elk, and then continue what sex you want to pick. Now, if you pick male, that's going to give you male tags, and it's going to give you either sex tags since you're opting into wanting to be able to potentially hunt a male species. Female is the same as well, female or either sex tags, or you can select all if you just want to see all tags. The next filter is the state filter. So let's look at Colorado. Right now, you'll notice Idaho, Washington, and Oregon are grayed out. You can't click on them yet. And I actually saw this question was in the chat by Brent. Thanks for asking it. These states will be live before their draws. Their draws are much later in the season. I think the first one is Oregon, which is May 15th. And then Idaho and Washington are a little bit later. And so we will get those live. We just haven't gotten that data yet from the states cleaned up and analyzed. So they will go live. I know that's another question a lot of people have is when do we post the current year's data? We try to get this data from the states in the fall, and then it takes quite a bit of time to process it and analyze it and make sure everything's accurate and correct. We do aim to get these updated with plenty of time before a draw closes. But our goal in the future is to get them posted before draws even open. This year, with the tool being new, we've got a little more work to do to get Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, but those should be up with plenty of time before those deadlines later in the spring. So I picked Colorado. Now you've got any hunt type. So most people it defaults to any hunt, but you can also look at youth or veteran military tags. I leave it on any hunt. I'm not youth, obviously, and I don't have veteran status. So we'll move on. And then method of take. So you can select all. This is going to give you a ton of results. What I suggest is you pick one to start and narrow down as many opportunities as possible. So I'm going to pick rifle and then the date selector. Ultimately, the best option here is to hit on flexible. But if you have specific dates that you know you can hunt, you can go in here and hit September 1st to, let's say, September 15th now, or September 30th. Now, I know because I clicked elk and rifle, this is going to give me a 0 result because there's no rifle tags for elk between September 1st and September 15th in the Western states. These are mostly all archery seasons. And so if you don't know what the seasons are around methods of take or species, I would leave this as flexible, start there. And if you ever get a 0 result, it's most likely that you've got a date filter set and there's no hunts within that date filter. This allows you to pick any date. So like you could pick March. And again, there's no elk hunts in March, so it's going to give you a 0 result. So I'm gonna hit I'm flexible, and then I'm gonna continue to search. So now what happens is all these search results start populating. Um, and if I want to go back to change everything, I can just click on these filters and it's all the same filters and I can adjust them however I'd like. If I change something, I want to see what deer are, I would hit the red button and it will switch to deer. So let's go back to elk. Let's look at this a little bit. Let's talk about the search results. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. You've got this drop down here, which is a sort. You can sort high to low or low to high. You've got this rut activity button, and you've got different views. We'll talk about those here to start. So first of all, you can sort by draw odds. We sort by draw odds, high to low by default. So it gives you the best draw odds possible. But you can also sort by harvest rate. And you can again sort high to low or low to high. And harvest rate's a really unique statistic that you do need to understand per state. There's differences in how the states report harvest rate. So in Montana, it's going to report harvest rate as a blended number based on all the different methods to take for that unit. And so if you're an archery hunter, it is going to have a blended harvest rate with the rifle hunters. So it may look a lot higher than you'd expect for a rifle hunt. Colorado does it a little different. They look at just that one season. So this is a rifle tag, first season rifle. So the elk are just coming out of the rut. So this harvest rate is pretty high. So, but no, there's differences. And again, we'll talk about what's on these cards here in a sec. You also can sort by hunting pressure. So hunting pressure is sorted default low to high, but you can also look high to low. And this is telling you how many hunters per square mile. Ultimately, what that statistic is telling you is how many tags there are per square miles of land in that unit. And so obviously, if you want to see less hunters, the lower hunter pressure, the better. And then lastly, you can sort by public land. So just the size of the unit itself, total square miles in the unit. Now, this isn't breaking out total square miles of public land versus private land. It's just saying how many square miles. So let's go back to draw odds since that's the most important one right now that we're talking about. Then you have this button, rut activity. So you can click on the rut activity and it'll filter out to only results that the state is saying that these species may potentially still be in rut. So right now this is elk. So this is probably going to look at all first rifle seasons. Yeah, so October 4th and 8th, this is at tail end of the rut, October 1st. So they're probably all first season rifle tags in Colorado. So I'm going to turn that off so I can see all of the tags. And then lastly, you've got a view. So right now we call this map and list view, where you can obviously see the map. But you can also go to table view if all you want to see is the results more like a spreadsheet. And you can filter through a lot of results a lot faster. I like to look at the map view because it gives me a little idea of what this unit might look like. So before we get to map, let's talk about what's on these result cards. So first we have the unit. We have what state it's in. We have the hunt code. So this is elk either unit 3. We have the species and we've got, this is an either sex tag. And then we've got the method of take and the season dates. So that's what's at the top. And then we can go through the points. So I've got 6 points. That's I've got 6 points for this. So that's saying my draw odds are 100% with my 6 points. This minimum points category is telling you the break-even point for your preference points. So this one at 0 points, this is a 0-point unit. If we scroll down a bit, let's just sort like this. You'll see that preference points, this unit, I only have 6 points, so I have a 0% chance of getting it. But the break-even point, like we talked about earlier, is at 9 points. So anyone with 9 points has a 50% chance of getting this tag from last year's data. So that means anyone with 0 to 8 points has a 0% chance, and anyone with 10 or more points has a 100% chance. So we're showing you on preference points the break-even point. So again, here at 20 points, anyone with 20 points would have 28.6% chance of getting this tag. Anyone with 21 points or more would get it 100%. Anyone with 19 points or less is going to be at 0%. So again, these are last year's draw odds, so that might change if tag quota has gone down or application numbers go up. But that is what we saw from last year's draw. The next section is the quota. So how many tags are given for this specific hunt, this either sex rifle, early rifle. This is a ranching for wildlife tag. So there's only 2 of those. The harvest rate in that unit. And then we got our land metrics. So how big is the unit itself? How much public land is in that unit? And then the hunting pressure. This one's got low hunting pressure, obviously, because there's only 2 tags. If we go to hunting pressure, and you'll see, if we go to high hunting pressure, You'll see this one has 30 tags and there's only 238 square miles. There's no public land in this unit. This is a tough unit to hunt. So this one's going to require private land. It's a 4-season rifle tag, so that makes sense. Now, another thing you might see on here is this NA. If you see NA for harvest, that means we do not have that data from the state. And so anywhere where there's an NA, that either means we don't have that data from the state, or say there's an NA in the points, that mean that might be a new unit for the year. If a unit has been split or there's a new GMU in that state, we won't have data from last year, obviously, because that unit didn't exist. Or if no one applied, so if you're looking at non-resident tags and no one's applied to that hunt last year, this will say NA as well if there's no data. Now, the last thing you can do in this view is you can start playing with the map. So you can obviously zoom in. Let's go back to a unit that has a little more public land. So you can zoom in, you can see public versus private. You can see SWAs here in Colorado. You could go to 3D and you can manipulate this like you would in Web Map. You can go north. You can do a lot of stuff to see the boundaries of the unit. Now, what we wanted to do here was not give you the full functionality of Web Map. We'll talk about this a little bit, but ultimately, we want you to go over to Web Map if you feel the need to do more research once you've figured out which units you're actually interested in. And this link here, when you click on this link, it's not going to take me right now because I'm not signed in. But when you click that link, it'll take you to the exact same view in Web Map with the same layers turned on. So say I'm zoomed in and I'm in 3D like this, and I'm looking at this BLM land right here, and I hit this button. It's going to take me into Web Map in this view, so I don't have to find it again. And I can start looking, where's there access? Are these roads accessible? Can I actually get into this area that I might want to hunt? So this gives you just a basic general overview of what that terrain might look like and if that might be a unit that works for your needs. Now,
Yeah,
the next,
one thing to note real quick, Paul. So we are constantly, again, this is a new tool for us. We're constantly adapting and editing and improving this tool. So what you see on the card today, excuse me, might be different tomorrow. Um, I know right now we're currently working on getting other additional units put into place, for example. So if say you draw that unit 4 tag there, the second one down, if you can also hunt unit 5 with that tag, which it was pretty common, we're going to show you that. A lot more things coming. So do know like what we're showing today is likely to change and then be proved on in the next time you log in.
yeah, that's a good call out. We've got a checklist of things we want to add to this. We just launched this about a month ago, exactly a month ago, January 22nd. And so we've still got a lot of functionality we want to keep adding to make this better and better over time. So keep coming back, keep exploring the tool. We'll be pushing out emails when new features go live. And we'll keep adding new data sources. We'll keep adding different ways to filter. We're going to keep making this better and better. So this is not the final state. This is a work in progress, and we're really proud of where it's at. But we have so many more fun and cool things that are going to help you guys figure out exactly what unit to apply for. So just know that we're constantly adding new stuff. Now, back to this. So once you get to this level, you can click this caret. So say I want this unit 3 tag. I can click this caret, and it'll take me to what we call the unit pages. So in this unit page, you'll actually get a little bit of information about the unit. You'll have the map that you can play around with, and then you'll see all the different hunts that are in this unit. So like this hunt that we clicked on is good in multiple GMUs. You've got the dates. This is that either sex tag. Here's the hunt code. And now we can drop down this accordion folder and we can see a little bit more information. So if I zoom out a little bit, you'll be able to see we got the preference point list. So at 0 points, you've got a 99.9% chance. So again, that means this is a 0-point unit. Anyone with 0 points has a chance. Anyone with 1 or more points is going to get this tag. Now, this is really good to know because if you have 10 points, you may not want to apply for this unit because you'll get it and you'll burn your 10 points. What you'd like to find is a unit. Let's go back. Let's find a unit that takes more points. So this one. So wait, that's not the one. What was the hunt code there? So this one is EE004W1R. So W1R is this. So now you'll see on preference points that it takes 9 points to have a 50% chance. And this is where we're showing you that 0 through 8 points doesn't have a chance. And 10 and more points is going to be getting that tag. So the other thing to look at as you scroll down is we've got a bunch of charts. So the chart's going to show you the tag quota. It looks like in this unit, the tag quota over the last 5 years has gone down significantly from 11 to 3 to 2. So that gives you a little bit idea of maybe the herd health in that unit. The number of applicants applying. So applicants went down, but now it's going back up. So this tag may be getting harder and harder to get. More people are applying for it. It also shows you the trending data, if it's going up or down, whether it's green or red. Um, the draw odds, so how many points it takes. This tag took 17 points a while back, and then you'll see that you dropped significantly in applicants. So then it was taking less points to actually get this tag, but now it's on the rise again. And then harvest information. So harvest information will show you the trend over the last 5 years of how successful this unit's been. So for me, if I'm looking at this, I'd say there's less tags available, more people are applying, it's getting harder to get this tag, and harvest success is going down. Maybe the health of this unit for this specific tag isn't exactly what I'm looking for. So then I would go back and maybe rule this one out and start looking for another tag. So that's ultimately how I would use this tool to start narrowing down the potential opportunities for me to be able to hunt and me to apply for. Dylan, do you have any
Yeah, Paul.
specific use cases you want to talk about in here?
Yeah, well, let's just walk through a use case for me for this year. I know we're planning on doing a couple, but I think you did a pretty good job just kind of running through the tool. So we can dive into mine and quickly show how I would go about it, and then kind of get on with it and get to some questions. There's some good questions to be answered. Since you're driving, I'll just have you continue to drive the screen there. Do you want to update your residency to Montana, please? So what I'm going to do here, I personally in Montana, I'm a Montana resident. For elk, I archery hunt every year. Therefore, I have 0 points. I apply for archery specific tags or I hunt general. If I don't get those tags, so I have not accumulated any points in Montana. But for this example, what I am going to do is I'm going to kind of go through. So my wife has, I believe, seven or eight. So we'll say 7 bonus points for Montana. So as I'm looking at her year this year, we're gonna go ahead and do that. So we're at elk. Let's see. We'll start in the beginning. So yep, elk tag. Definitely want a bull tag. So we got that selected. Montana. Any hunt. And then she is going to want a rifle tag. So we'll select rifle and flexible for the timelines. I don't believe it actually selected rifle. There you go.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. So I don't know, and this is a real life conversation I'm going to have with her before applying, but I don't believe, especially having 2 young children right now, that she's going to want to burn the points on a tag this year. So that means we're going to apply for a unit that if we drew it, it would be, we're not going to apply for a unit that is almost impossible to draw. We're not going to just pick the hardest unit and go ahead and apply for that. But we are going to be looking for a unit that is difficult to draw. And if we did draw it, it would be a little bit of a surprise with those 6 points. And we would figure it out, right? Because it would be worth doing so. Not going to look at a 60, 70, 80% tag because it's not the best year for her to spend time, away from the family and go put a bunch of time and effort into this particular hunt. So, up at the top, we're going to want draw odds and sort from the hardest to the easiest, which is what we're at here. Obviously, you can just run down the list. I mean, it's pretty difficult. Those first few tags are definitely difficult. The other thing too, what type of terrain is it? So that's where the map comes in handy. You can switch it into topo view. So in the bottom right of the map, you can look at topo. And if you go back to one of those first hunts there, Paul, you can see the mountainous terrain. So if you go up to the very first one, yep, click that. As you zoom in, you can start to look at the elevation changes. What elevation is this unit at? I know based on the draw odds, it's a very, very difficult tag to draw. It's also pretty steep. I know she can get after it, but I know there's a lot easier units in the state of Montana that we would be more interested in hunting than a high mountainous type hunt. So therefore, I'm going to poke around on the map and look there. Obviously, it's a lot easier terrain. Being from Montana, I know where most of these units are. But if you're not from Montana, you can zoom out, you can get a point of reference and just see. Generally, the eastern side of the state is going to be a lot more flat and forgiving. Um, so yeah, we're gonna be looking at one of those hunts with relatively lower draw odds up around that 10-ish% to where if we drew, it'd be a great tag and we'd figure it out. That one there's 17%, so we'd have a decent chance. And yeah, so that's, I mean, obviously at a very, very surface level without really diving into the nuts and bolts and spending a lot of time just because we've got a lot of questions to get to. That's how I'm going to start to look at it. And then from there, I'm going to have my eye on a few specific units and dive into the unit pages that Paul was just showing, see what the trends have been doing for those particular states, and so on and so forth, and really just narrow it down from here's all the opportunities and it's super overwhelming to here's 5 opportunities that we like, and here's 1 or 2 that we're going to apply for. And then we're going to dive into the map side of things and do a little bit more research on that side and ultimately land on that one first choice.
Yeah, I think that's a great overview. And I think it's really important to know, like, yeah, if you're going to go somewhere with your uncle or your grandpa or someone that maybe can't get after it in the mountains, to know right off the bat which units you can cut out and you can quickly get to, I want to do a plains hunt or something that's on the edge of the mountains and not deep in the mountains. So that's really why we made the map simplified in here, just to give you a real quick look to be able to understand which ones you can weed out. And then, like Dylan said, get your list down to 3 or 5 potential units, then go over to web map, go into the deep layers, look at the burn areas, look at the access, look at the land, like really understand that unit before you apply to it. And we're not going to go into that on this one. That's for a whole nother masterclass on how to use web map as a scouting tool during application season. But that's a great use case. So let's get back to the masterclass here, and let's answer a couple questions. But before we get there, so this is one of many tools we have for you guys with your onX Elite account. So you got Hunt Research Tools. That's what we just went over. You also get that free membership to Hunt and Fool Digital, which has a ton of great information. If you want to upgrade and go talk to them one-on-one, they do consulting as well. You get a free membership to Hunt Reminder, which will send you text messages or emails for any species in any state that you want to set up reminders for, so you never miss a draw. That's one of the strategy things, is missing these draws. These draws are from early December all the way through the middle of June for most of these Western states. And so it's really hard to remember which state is when's the secondary draw, which state is elk only now, and then later it's bighorn sheep. It's very confusing. So this tool is great. It'll send you a text message letting you know a week before the draw is coming and then a day before the draw is coming. So you can get in there and apply. Obviously, your onX Hunt, you've got a ton of information in the map that you can go use during application season. You've got research layers that are really helpful during application season, like the burn layer, like the drought layers. Again, there's a ton of information in there that can help you this time of year. And then the blog, we've got a ton of articles that focus around application season. We've got our partners from Hunt and Fool writing some content for us. There's a blog about every single Western state that we cover in Hunt Research Tools. So you can go in and get tips on how to apply, tips on how to maximize your points. You'll be able to see things that have been updated this year that are really crucial for you to know. So there's a ton of resources here to help you during application season. Also, if you guys aren't an elite member, you can go online, onxmaps.com. You cannot use this code on the app stores, but you have to go online. You can sign up for Elite and get 30% off your first year. That gives you $30 off your first year of Elite, which again gets you all these tools, pro deals to a bunch of other of our partners. We got First Light in there, Vortex, Argali. Like there's a ton of pro deals. So go, it's app strategy. That's the promo code, and you've got till the end of the month. If you want to upgrade to Elite, we'll give you 30% off your first year.
So
Again,
this one here, we did cover these in the beginning, but again, we've got a lot of really good master classes coming up. We've got a mule deer one next Tuesday where we dive into what does each state cost to apply, what does that look like, and the folks over at Hunt and Fool really being the experts in that will dive into all the common states for mule deer and what that looks like. We've got some waypoints ones coming up. We have an antelope, another application season one, and then we always do some mastering the app 101s. Sign up for these, even if you're not sure if you can make it. What we do is we will email you actually the day after a copy of this. So get signed up for it, even if you're not sure you can make it. There's a lot of good information, and I've seen a lot of questions, or comments, I should say, of this is over the top of my head. It's confusing, guys. We understand it is very, very complex. It's very confusing. It is for all of us still, and especially as I said, once you get it figured out, they change it on you. So everything is subject to change every single year, and so you constantly have to be learning and evolving. Um, those master classes with Huntful will dive into a lot more in depth and help you understand that. And then also I would say find a buddy, find a hunting buddy, find somebody who knows it and sit down with them and ask those pointed questions and have them show you, walk you through on the computer how to apply for your first out-of-state hunt. Um, we're pretty limited here with an hour of your guys' time to dive in, and everybody's questions are very pointed for what they know, and everybody's also on different levels of understanding of those states. So it's difficult to really get everybody up to speed, but find somebody who does understand it, spend time with them, and they will help you apply, hopefully. So with that being said, we've got a bunch of good questions here. Um, I'll kind of rattle some off and then answer some of them, Paul, here. So, first one, if I should ever cancel my elite membership, are these tools still available in the basic plan? These are elite only tools. So, if you're an elite onX member, you have full access to the suite of application services that Paul just showed, from the hunt research tools that we spent a bunch of time in, to Hunt Full's digital membership, to Hunt Reminder, etc. So, those are for elite members. Um, the hunt and full side of things and the hunt reminder, you can go, if you're a premium or basic on X member, you can go out and you can pay for those tools separately, but becoming an elite member gives you those tools for free, and it's just a big value add. So yeah, take a look at that there. Let's see. There's another one here. So these fewer available tags every year are based on species conservation efforts. Is that correct? Paul, do you want to take a stab at that one?
Yeah, ultimately tags are based on what the land managers feel the unit can actually handle. So it could be conservation efforts, it could be decline in population, it could be land access issues, forest fires. We had a big winter kill in Colorado a couple years ago that really affected quota. So a lot of things can affect the tag quotas based on management tactics. Here in Colorado, they just released wolves, so we won't get political about it, but uh, I assume some tag quotas are going to be going down in the next couple of years as well as those wolves start to have their impact. So it's not just conservation efforts. There's lots of things that land managers consider when they determine what the quota is going to be for a specific unit.
Yeah, lot goes into it. Next question here is someone who is completely new. How do you get points? What exactly are these points, and where do you apply once you have said points? Every state is different, and this is where, again, if you find somebody who is well versed and sit down with them, hopefully they're willing to take the time to show you and to walk you through. Every state is very different, as I've said multiple times. New Mexico, for example, that one's coming up next. You can apply, or New Mexico is a bad example. Let's go to Colorado. Um, you can apply for a particular hunt, and if you don't draw it, you're awarded a point, or you can just do points only. Wyoming, again, for example, different one. I can I have been in Wyoming just buying points. There is always a random draw, as we talked about, so it's a preference point state. I know with 4 points, I'm not going to draw the tag that I want. So I can apply and spend more money and hope that eventually I just draw a random tag, or I can go in and just buy these points every year so I can accumulate. This year, I know I'm not going to apply for elk in Wyoming because the application period as a non-resident has already came and passed. I am going to buy another point, so next year I've got that additional point, which just gives me that much more room to draw that tag. So every state is different. Do your homework, do your research. You can find a lot of this information online or through our blogs. Again, or call a hunting buddy who has applied for Wyoming or Colorado or New Mexico and pick their brain a little bit on those.
Here's a good question. Can you access hunt research tools on a mobile device? So yes, you can. It's not great right now on mobile. I'll be the first one to admit that. It is much better on your desktop. We are going to be focused on making that better mobile experience this year for next year's draw. But this year, I would recommend go to your desktop. This really is a sit down at the end of the day on your desktop, do some research, go into web map, look at layers, and I think the experience is a lot better there. But that will be coming. It'll get better and better on mobile. Let's see. Will there be any option to do more filters for public land, size, or draws? Yes, that's a great question as well. We are going to be adding more filters. I saw another question in here that asked something similar about how do I filter out private land only tags? That filter is not ready yet, but that is a filter we want to add. We want to add much more advanced filtering so that you can get down to those 3 or 5 units you want to apply for as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yep. So another good question. I'm curious why onX is building this tool when you have an agreement with TopRut. So we actually acquired TopRut. I believe it's been over a year. Paul, you probably have the date on the top of your head, but we did acquire TopRut, and this is essentially a simplified version of TopRut. So all of the data and the information that you are going to see in TopRut is in this new Hunt Research Tools. We do have Top Rut live for this year for the folks that have used it and still want to use that this year. Um, but think of this new Hunt Research Tools like an easier to use version of Top Rut. So it's the same great data, same information as Top Rut. It's just going to be in a more digestible, easily filtered and sortable option.
Yeah, and I'll add a little color to that. I mean, TopRut really is like a spreadsheet version of this. It's all the same data. And so our way we think about it is this is kind of like Airbnb. And imagine if Airbnb was just a spreadsheet rather than a bunch of filters and cards that you could look at pictures and reviews. And so we wanted to make this experience a little more user friendly. And that's why we built this out of what we had in TopRut. And TopRut really was just a draw odds tool. And we wanted to add more data into this tool. So we've got harvest rates, we've got public land metrics. We're going to be adding other data streams that relate to herd health. And so this gives us more flexibility in the future to add more rich content to this rather than just a table full of draw odds. I think we got time
Yep.
for one more.
Will the
Anything else.
One more? Okay. I've got one more, and then if you've got one in mind too, Paul, will this tool have a sort function by unit? Yes, it will. That's one of the things on the list. Again, this is a tool that is relatively new to market. We've got a list of ways to improve it and increase the usability of it. So adding that sort function by the unit is one of those that we have addressed, and it is coming. Keep letting us know, email our customer service. Let us know if you have any feedback of how you particularly use this tool. We do listen to the customer feedback both within our maps and all of our other tools. So let us know what you'd like to see in it, but that is one of the few things that will be added here shortly.
Yeah, and the last question I see 2 or 3 people have asked, can this be downloaded into an Excel sheet or a CSV? No, we cannot export this data into a CSV. At the time being, this is the route to be able to utilize this user experience and this UI to help you understand what is your best options. All right, with that, I know there's plenty of other questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all. We want to get to this last thing, which is enter to win. So let's put this in the chat, or you can go to bit.ly/hunt research tools and fill this form out. Simple form that should look like this. And it's just your name, your email, shipping address, city, state, zip code, and submit. You got to do it by tonight at midnight, and you'll be entered into a chance to win a onX Hunt lifetime membership for Elite. So if that's not already in the
Yeah,
chat,
just takes a second. It is in the chat. Just takes a second. And again, this is Elite for life. So that's $100 value for the rest of your life. You'll never have to pay for it again. So, um, good turnout tonight, but your odds of winning a lifetime Elite are probably a lot better than some of the tags that we looked at in previous slides. So, make sure that you get your name in the hat there. Um, Obviously with Elite, you got all 50 states, Canada, all the application tool set that we covered tonight and a whole slew of other things as well. plus whatever we build into Elite in the future, which we're working on some cool new stuff. So get your name in the hat there. And yeah, thanks to everybody for taking the time out of your evening. Hopefully it was beneficial as we have stated, and we realize it's a complex thing. And if you want to be well versed and apply for multiple states and hunt new states, you gotta spend some time and do the research. It definitely doesn't come easy, but if you want to do that and experience those out of state hunts and make sure that you're getting tags, find the right people, ask the right questions, and it's very doable. So, anything else to add, Paul?
That's it. I just appreciate you guys taking the time at the end of a long day and get into there, get in the tool, play around with it, send us feedback if you guys have it. We'd love to incorporate your guys' thoughts. Like we said, we got a long list of things we want to continue adding to this tool. So keep coming back and keep playing around with it. And good luck on your draws. I hope you guys get the tags that you're hoping for this year.
Yep. Good luck, everybody. Thanks.